Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Doric Entertainment for another cracking video. We've got here Sumit and Junie, and today we're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler discussion.
Damn, man, we got it going.
So, you would have seen our last video, hopefully, that's the non-spoiler discussion. So, if you haven't watched the movie yet, we suggest that you go and watch the movie first. Watch our non-spoiler discussion if you want right now. But so you don't get spoiled, we suggest that you watch the movie first, then come back and watch this video because this has spoilers galore.
Yeah.
This is the spoiler discussion. Spoiler warning. Here you go. Here's
Right
the
there.
warning
There.
Right, so we just quickly round up our scores again before we go ahead. So 9.5 out of 10 for me.
I gave it 9.5 as well.
Oh, sorry, I gave it 9.
You gave it a 9.
I gave it a 9. Sorry, 9 out of 10.
I gave it a 9.5. And
9.5.
I'll give it 10 New York pizzas out of
10 New York pizzas. OMG.
out of 10.
So obviously from that you can tell this is an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Spider-Man No Way Home, go check it out. This is the last movie in the trilogy from Tom Holland, and I think he signed up to do more, but this is the last movie of the trilogy. And yeah, this is... Let's go. Let's start off with the spoilers. So we all know the biggest spoiler that you all want to hear.
Is Stan Lee's not in it.
There you go. There it is. Scoop by Junie there. Stan Lee is not. But the biggest scoop is,
R.P. Stan Lee.
as much as Mr. Garfield and Mr. Maguire, oh, not Mr. Maguire, he hasn't been lying, but Mr. Garfield has been saying that he's not in it. They are both in this movie.
Mate, I think
There you go.
Andrew Garfield needs to win an Oscar for his performance, not for the movie, but for
Putting up a
in
face.
his interviews and convincingly saying that he's not. I was convinced.
Yeah.
I was impressed by
doubt-
the dodging ability. It's very
I was doubting it very much that, for a second, I was like, maybe he's not in it.
I was pretty convinced with him. I was like, oh my god, like there's a chance he might
you
not.
do hit that moment where you think, oh man, you shouldn't get too hyped.
Yeah, because
you don't know. You
Yeah.
don't like. You
And what if it's just like a 2-second appearance, which it wasn't. It was about a good half an hour, I think.
But man, when that portal opens, when Ned opens that portal, and we see a tall-looking Spider-Man,
Gosh,
you should have seen. You should have heard the cinema.
similar
roaring.
reaction.
Everyone was going, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" And then he steps into the light, and everyone just loses it.
Yeah,
It
because you
was
know
a
it's him.
moment.
that was Endgame energy.
That was Endgame. That was Avengers Infinity War Endgame type energy in the cinema, which is good to It's been a while since like that sort of stuff has happened in the cinema.
Yeah.
The cinemas have been going through a tough time, but yeah, that was so cool to experience that. And then when Toby walks through, oh my god, everyone just lost it.
Oh my god.
So Toby in that scene wasn't in his spider gear, but he was, in normal clothes, and everyone he just popped up, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Toby!" But yeah, look, that's the big reveal there. That's a big spoiler that they are in this.
Yeah.
There are other characters in this. Of course, you all know the villains that are in this movie. And then you've got basically there is a we'll talk about the post-credit scene later on, but there is another appearance there. But you've got Ned and you've got MJ and everyone. They're all there as well. Aunt May, Happy. They're all there. For me, Tom Holland steals the show in this movie. It is his movie, so you expect that. But he plays the role brilliantly. Like he goes through emotions. There's serious scenes that he needs. There's comedy. He pulls off the comedy really well. Speaking of the comedy, Ned is that
Very
character.
good.
Yeah, he's really good. His
Solid.
timing.
Yeah.
You get like little giggles throughout the movie. It's mostly Ned.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Tom Holland pulls off.
Great performance.
A great performance.
A great performance. Tom Holland's Peter Parker goes through the ringer in this movie. This movie is very emotional.
Yeah.
And like there's, I guess that the scene with Aunt May, was pretty emotional.
That was quite
that was
emotional.
a very sad death.
It was directed wonderfully. The music as well. Everything about that scene was like
Beautifully done.
it's very dramatic. I honestly wasn't expecting. I don't know, just because you get used to like the way Marvel do their movies, and when they do this, it hits.
It hits hard. It hits very hard because for me that scene hit very hard because you sort of realize that Spider-Man's alone
Yeah.
now. Like he has Ned and that, and I guess not at the end of the movie. Like he doesn't have him anymore, but in that moment, like he doesn't have a family member with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like he's alone.
Yeah.
Actually.
So the whole premise of this movie is basically about the identity of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's Peter Parker. He tries to get the help of Doctor Strange to make everyone forget with the spell. It goes wrong. And by the end of the movie... actually, I won't spoil the end of the movie. That's too much, isn't it?
No, we'll spoil it.
All right. Well, you've probably
Spoiler discussion.
hopefully you've seen it already.
Yeah.
By the end of the movie, you're right. Like everyone forgets who Spider-Man is, the identity of Spider-Man. So, and we know Aunt May passed away, so he's pretty much alone now. Like that's
he's full on alone because he basically has to do that spell where everyone forgets. Otherwise, the multiverse was crashing. Couldn't do anything about it, and like it's. I mean, like that's interesting that he's all alone, right? And that's sort of what I guess a lot of the fans sort of were wanting.
Yeah, there's a lot of fan service.
A lot of fans were like saying they didn't want like with this trilogy of Spider-Man movies. There was a lot of I guess feedback about Tony Stark having too much of a presence, and he's Spider-Man's suit that's too techy, There's a definite reset at the end of this movie that signals that he is on his own. And he is completely he's got to work this out for himself. For the first time, I think, in this MCU. So that is good to see. I like that.
He goes through real development.
Yeah.
And it's unique. It's different because it's like people know the character.
Yeah.
But they weren't sure people would accept this Spider-Man because we'd gotten Andrew Garfield so recently. So they chose to skip over development. The development you'd usually see in Tobey's movie or in Garfield's movie, it was spread out over these three films. You can really see it, and the payoff is like incredible.
One thing I just got to mention, one thing that Holland pulls off really well is because Holland is younger, right? He's that young teenage, that dorky sort of character. He pulls that off better than, say, Garfield did in his previous movies. Because Garfield seemed a bit older, more
seemed too cool.
Yeah, he was cool. You know what I mean? But he pulls off that dorky sort of.
He doesn't pull off the unpopular kid.
He
doesn't like.
And seeing them together, I've got to say, it felt like Tom Holland. This might be controversial, but in this movie, Tom Holland it was the best Spider-Man out of the three.
Yeah,
like of course, back in Maguire's time, he was great. You know what I mean? Like, but when in this movie with all of them together, he pulled it off really well.
And it was kind of like a passing of the torch as well. I thought at the end, like them sort of saying, you are the Spider-Man now. Run with it. Sort of, like all of this is come towards you, and now you're going to take this forward even more. And I mean, one scene that I really liked was, I guess, that rooftop scene where Tom Holland.
That was shot incredibly too.
Yeah,
when
Tom
they first
Holland.
meet.
Yeah, Tom Holland was incredible because he's dealing with the pain of losing Aunt May, and they're sort of connecting over that, because they all have
in the universe.
They all have tragedy, right?
Yeah.
And Uncle Ben was, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's tragedy, but Aunt May is Tom Holland's tragedy, and like that, they connect over
that. That scene's very unique because it's not just that; it's also having experienced and watched those movies and seeing their journey.
Yeah.
It hits you differently. Like,
it does,
That's what it's incredible. It
is incredible.
It's nothing like anything else. Like
that's why
even with the villains too. That's why the villains work on a different level. Because there's some personal attachment, even nostalgia people have for the characters, and like it's crazy. Like,
let's just talk about the villains for a second here.
Yeah.
So they tease at a Sinister Six type scenario, but it's not.
Yeah.
There's 5 main villains in this. That's probably they're holding that off probably for a future movie.
Yeah.
But
well, it seemed to me they did it by each movie's representation.
There's
Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
There was one villain from each movie representing.
Exactly, and they've come through. So they've come through at a time where, they're about to die.
Yeah.
And they've come through from that point into this universe.
Yeah.
the way Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man deals with these characters is he actually tries to help them. Because just looking back at the movies, the characters start off as not villains straight away. They become villains in their roles. Yeah. So at one point, they were not bad people, right?
Yeah, and it's not like the Spider-Man... what happens to them in their movies, but usually Spider-Man doesn't intend for those things to happen. They happen.
Yeah.
As a consequence.
Yeah, so this Spider-Man in this movie then tries to help them, right? Tries to cure them.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting because, Doctor Strange was of the opinion that you can't change fate.
Yeah.
And these people were killed by Spider-Man.
It was conflicting for me too because I know they're villains and I'm just like...
Yeah.
The idea that he's going to help them was like, what the hell?
That's when I started thinking you got to go way back. You got to go before they became villains to find out who they are. And that's what I think Holland...
That's what Holland was trying to do, right?
Yeah.
He was trying to get them to find their human side.
But that was a very unique angle. His naivety in terms of who they are.
Yeah.
He just takes them for what they are.
Yeah.
We know they're villains. He doesn't
know that. He doesn't. That's why I believe Green Goblin is the main villain in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he does stuff in this movie. Like the way he would brag about how he, killed Aunt May. That's so creepy, man. That is really...
And single-handedly forced development onto Peter.
And the act that he puts on, he's good or trying to be good, he's just... He does it, You're almost convinced.
Oh, he does the sympathetic part very well. It's just... Had me emotional.
Because it felt like he was he had Alzheimer's and he's like an old
that's
guy.
right. And he's saying
he pulled
Peter,
it off so well at the phone.
It's so he's like Peter and Peter doesn't even know him, but even you can see Tom Holland's feeling bad. He's got him on his side, doesn't even know him. I was just
nah, that's a masterful performance from Dafoe. Yeah. That was crazy.
The bit that sort of got me a bit as well was I wasn't 100% happy with that was the end part when the multiverse is sort of colliding and splitting and Doctor Strange is trying to pull it back together. It's sort of like, do you remember that movie Geostorm? So it's a movie, right? It's Geostorm. The Geostorm the storm never actually happens in the movie because they prevent it, right? But you want to see it, but it never happens. So similar to this, where the multiverse is splitting, and people are supposedly going to be coming through,
and it's hinted at as well, right?
Yeah,
you can see the outlines.
You can see the outlines of certain characters, and
there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and they're going to come through, but he stops it, so they don't, right? Yeah. And he closes it off, but. That's sort of you wanted to see that, sort of like the ending for Loki, the season for Loki, right? At the end, it's sort of like the ending where, it's finishing, and then you just see the multiverse colliding with each other. You're like, oh crap, and that's the ending, right? They didn't go with that sort of thing in this movie. They sort of showed it, they teased it, but I think that they're going to do more of it in Doctor Strange to Multiverse of Madness.
But I like that they didn't do that, right? I like that they teased it and that Doctor Strange is going to be where that's going to just implode, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because that's the movie that's for that. That's what Doctor Strange is going to deal with.
Yeah, the whole title is Multiverse of
Peter's going to deal with his life in the next Spider-Man movie that going on without knowing who, or without
anyone knowing who
Ned
he is.
or MJ knowing who he is.
Yeah. It's just him and focusing on.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about this story is that it focuses solely on Tom Holland's Spider-Man. There's a lot of elements here that could really throw off, the viewer if it was a bad director and didn't know how to sort of handle all these, people, but all these characters. But John Watts has done it so well that all these cameos, all the three Spider-Man, all the villains, they're there to service Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Exactly.
It's there for that story for him to get that. Obviously the great power comes with great responsibility. It's all just about that. If there was one sentence to describe it, it's that quote right there. That's how you describe this movie.
Yeah. And even though it is about Tom Holland, I got to say I did enjoy. They did add small moments in there from interactions with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's, because they don't know each other as well. This is the first time they're seeing each other as well.
I love that interaction between them. They've got chemistry on screen.
And even like Ned's interaction with them, like and everyone because they're new to this universe and they're Spider-Man. That's why everyone's excited. I think all the interactions with them are great. Like that's something that even though the main character is of course Tom Holland. But when the other characters interact with them,
you can really tell Toby and Andrew just loved doing this. You can tell it in their performance. They loved doing this. They're getting back into the suit again, and
it's such a crazy idea. Like, it's just, you don't think it would.
And for them, I reckon it was an honor to do this. It was really an honor to come
back into that suit,
and you can really feel that in the performance that they give, because it's very good. And I like the fact that they didn't reveal anything. They could have. Sony could have really, to get a lot of people butts in seats. It would have put a lot of butts in seats if they revealed it. But I like that they held off. It was a great cinema moment when he comes in. Really it was just a great sort of moment that you have to experience in the theater.
And I mean, so many photos leaked prior to the release ages ago. The person who took that photo, they're going to be. They probably are in so much trouble. But
John Campea, who released it?
On the.
They both were right.
Yeah, they were right.
Those two photos that John Campea released, they both were true.
Yeah, we'll also talk about that Daredevil cameo.
Oh yes,
that was sweet.
That was nice.
That was awesome. It's
cherry
so
on
good.
the top.
That was so good to see him. The same actor playing that role.
And confirming that. It's part of the MCU.
I mean, he did.
It's a very beloved series.
It's a small cameo, but he does his lawyer side of things. He doesn't show it as Daredevil, obviously, but he does the lawyers, and that's great. I love seeing that because I love the series.
And it's a good payoff because clearly the first season was made to very much tie in to the universe, the MCU. But they had to move away from it in later seasons because of. The way it was structured.
The political structure there.
In the first Daredevil season, they spoke about the Avengers.
They did,
incidents and things that were happening.
Directly tied in,
But then, you're right. They did sort of move away. from
They had to because of the politics.
But now that Feige's got everything now,
and to see him in an actual Marvel movie, that was awesome.
That was cool. That was cool.
Because I'm sure he would have been maybe not promised, but he was expecting to be.
Yeah, he would have had discussions at least. I reckon with Feige before, and it's so cool to see that come to fruition. And there's the other cameo we need to talk about in the
post or mid credits
scene. Tom Hardy's Venom.
Tom Hardy's Venom is in this. So that was a character I was hoping for would be in the main movie, in the movie, but he is in the post-credit or mid-credit scene. So stay tuned after. I mean, you probably have seen it already, but he is in that for a small cameo, and that brings Venom into Holland's universe. So
this is where it's a bit interesting, right? Because, I thought he was going to be in the main movie because it was teased at the end of Venom.
Yeah, that he's in Holland's universe already.
Let There Be Carnage. It was that the universe changed around him, and he was watching TV, and it was Peter Parker and he wanted to go to New York, but then I don't know. There's probably a cut where he is in it, but then maybe it was just too many people, and it would have got a bit cluttered if he came as well. And so I believe that they are making a Venom vs Spider-Man movie, but it's a bit interesting now, right? Because they all the villains got sort of put back into their universes. So did Venom, but we see there's a little symbiote there
on the
bar table that was before he got, or when he got and then gets it back and it moves a little bit. So that is, I guess, teasing that the symbiote is in the MCU now, I guess. But how it all links now, how Tom Holland goes from the MCU to the Sonyverse,
because Tom Hardy, the character, goes back. He shifts back.
He goes back to the Sonyverse.
But so it's interesting.
The symbiote might be the key for Tom Holland's Spider-Man to go cross universes, maybe. Maybe there's something in the symbiote that, when connected to his Spider-Man suit, allows him to do that.
So a lot of people left after this, but if they waited till the end of the movie, after the credits,
end credits,
there was Doctor Strange, the multiverse of
the trailer.
It wasn't even a teaser. It was a pretty massive trailer.
Yeah, it was a long trailer, 2 minutes.
Yeah. And that was just like mind-blowing. Like scene after scene, just like, oh my God, what is happening? There's so many things happening.
There's a lot happening in that trailer.
And then at the end of it, they show like a dark...
evil Doctor Strange.
So if you've seen What If, in one of the episodes, it's really interesting. Watch that. But yeah, stay. If you stayed, it was really. I'm looking forward to that movie because that is one movie that I think will sort of continue Doctor Strange's story from this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing, Tom Hiddleston was on set for the filming of this or reshoot. There was 6 weeks worth of reshoots. That's a big thing to notice. I'm sure it was all planned, but we could be expecting a lot of cameos in that movie as well.
Yeah.
And Sam Raimi returning to directing.
Yeah.
After 9 years.
After a long time as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't wait for that. It's at least 5 months away, I think.
It's only 5 months ago.
Yeah.
That's not too far. Okay.
May, yeah.
So yeah, let's get back to the main topic. Spider-Man: No Way Home. Great movie, awesome movie. Definitely recommend it. It's one of the top movies of the year. I think even probably since Endgame, it's one of my favorite movies since Endgame.
Yeah, easily.
Alfred Molina did a good job too.
Alfred
he wasn't far behind.
Yeah, he wasn't far behind.
Dafoe, to be honest.
Yeah,
but Dafoe just, my God, he made me feel scared in a cinema theater, which for not a horror movie, it's a pretty good performance. Yeah.
One thing that I like, that I felt like they didn't go the linear route of like the villain, you know what I mean? They just like the bad guy from the beginning. They sort of change it up a bit throughout the story.
Yeah.
So that was good. It was interesting to watch that sort of aspect of it.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that look, guys, this is what we thought of the movie. We hope you've watched this spoiler video after watching the movie, and we haven't spoiled it for you, but please leave a comment below.
I hope we spoiled for Daniel.
Oh, Daniel.
Dog.
Daniel, what if you watch this? Oh, there you go.
If you find a way home.
Oh my God. So please leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of our review and our discussion, and what you think of the movie and what you thought about our thoughts, and we'd like to hear all of your thoughts too. Please like the video, please share it if you can, subscribe to the channel because we do appreciate all of your support, and we shall see you in the next video. Peace.